So we're here today doing fishbowl questions once again. Meg is interrogating me, and she tells me that she has a list of questions from the audience and other things, other places that she doesn't like to disclose.
So today, our first question is from Cindy, and she said, Brian, when would you advise a client to use a post-occupancy when selling their home?
So post-occupancy is a concept where when you're selling a home, if we negotiate it and everybody agrees to it, then you can reside in the home after the sale, basically renting back the home from the new homeowner. And it's pretty much a lease. Usually you pay for it. It's very common. In this market, we're seeing them probably a little bit more commonly, and we actually negotiate them quite frequently for our clients because when you're selling your house, if you have to go buy another house, it's really tough. You kind of get trapped, where it just doesn't work out. So being able to stay in the house for a few weeks after closing can be very helpful. And we actually just had one where we had clients that were kind of in a difficult situation as to where they're going to go. And so we just negotiated where they could stay in the house 2 months after closing. So we have a 45-day closing and then a 60-day post-occupancy that they're paying for. And so it's like from the day we signed the contract, it's like over 100 days before they have to move out.
So it gives them plenty of time to get to where they want to go.
Right.
In a comfortable situation.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, after the first 45 days, it closes and they get the money. So they have all the proceeds from the sale in their bank account.
Oh, all right.
And now they're just renting. So now they have 60 days where they can start making, even prior to the 60 days, frankly, but they can start making offers on homes not contingent on the sale of their house. They can close whenever they want in that 60 days on their new home and move at their leisure. It's a much easier situation for them. Now, we don't get 60 days every time. That's a big thing. But, we can apply this in different ways to make it at least easier on people and sometimes just solve the whole problem. So,
right. In today's market, is it still a seller's market?
Oh, well, that one, you gave me a little tip that this one's coming.
Well, I'm thinking with the post-occupancy too, because the sales for homes are kind of different every day. The post-occupancy is something that's coming into play a little bit more nowadays.
It is, because it's when it's easier to sell, it's a little harder to buy. Because then we have this chart. Hopefully, people on the camera can see it. But this is what it looked like over a year ago, where the number of homes on the market was this light colored line, and the number of solds is this dark colored line. And this is kind of like what a normal market looks like. If anything, that market was actually a pretty good market.
Yes.
I mean, that was still what we call a seller's market. It's pretty good to sell a house. They sold pretty quick. We got great money for them. Everything was going nicely. And then now we're in this preposterous section here, where you see the gap between the supply and demand is almost zero. And so that's why it's a pretty darn good time to sell a home. But it can be a little trickier to buy a house. Not impossible. We make it happen for our clients, but it's definitely not a layup.
Right.
Because the factors that make it so good to sell work sort of against you when you're buying a little bit. And that's where the post-occupancy can come into play to help that a little bit. And by the way, that's not the only trick up our sleeves. We've got a few tricks up our sleeves to help solve that. But the post-occupancy is one that comes up a lot. So I think that's why you're asking about it.
Right. So with this seller's market, what do you see changing since last month? And is it pretty much staying the same, do you think? Or is it
if you look at this chart, it looks like around maybe June or so, you saw that the supply and demand was kind of equal, which I'm not sure we've ever seen that before. No. That's a new thing.
Yeah.
We've never seen that the number of homes on the market actually equaled the number of buyers buying in the market. That's just a bizarre thing. And you'll kind of notice here, as in the following couple of months, the buying has ticked down a notch. And so that gap between listings and solds is starting to widen again. And I think, it's pretty clear that trend's happening. It's probably going to continue where it's going to start to look again like this chart here, which is kind of like a normal market.
Right.
And so it's very likely that that's the circumstance we're in. Now, right now, it's still craziness.
Yeah.
And however, I think we're going to start to see these lines normalize again.
All right. Well, we'll touch base on this again, maybe beginning of the year, to see where we ended up in December.
Yeah.
All right. Our last question is from Andrew. and he would like to know, what is your favorite guilty pleasure Halloween movie?
Was that Andrew from Massachusetts?
It is. How did you know?
That Andrew.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What is my favorite guilty pleasure Halloween movie?
Yes.
Well, right now, me and my son are watching Nightmare Before Christmas, the Tim Burton one.
That's awesome.
And he gets a real kick out of that one.
Yeah. That's
and
adorable.
So we watched that. He's pretty funny. He's 4. So, and then I think my personal favorite, like scary movies, are the Friday the 13th ones with Freddy Krueger and all that. I always like those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They still get me.
Yeah, me too. I was just telling Andrew from Massachusetts about the one where they stick the Q-tip in the ear and. Ugh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions we have this week for Fishbowl, but we'll be back next week.
Thanks, Mag.
You're
Great
welcome.
Fishbowl. Bye, everybody.